recognition?
I no longer do. I withdraw my point of order.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Maryland is recognized for 5 minutes in support of his motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let's just flash back to a year ago when we were working on the Budget Control Act, and it's, I think, worth reminding everybody what the Speaker of the House, Mr. Boehner, said at that time, quote, "I got 98% of what I wanted. I'm pretty happy," unquote. That's what the Speaker of the House said about the Budget Control Act. We now find ourselves here trying to find a way to prevent these across-the-board meat axe cuts from taking place in the defense budget and the non-defense budget. There's agreement that that would be a stupid way to dealing with our deficit. So there's no dispute there. The issue is, what do we do to replace the sequester, to achieve deficit reduction, but do it in a reasonable and credible way? That's where the rub is. And what Democrats have said is we need to do it in the way that bipartisan groups have proposed that we do it, through a combination of additional cuts in a targeted way, not in a meat axe across-the-board way. But yes, we also have to ask the very wealthiest Americans to contribute more to reducing the deficit, because the math is pretty simple. If you don't ask very wealthy people to contribute one more penny to reducing the deficit, then you have to hit everybody else much harder. You have to hit seniors on Medicare harder. You have to reduce dramatically our investment in our kids' education. You have to cut investments in infrastructure, our roads and bridges. Those are the consequences of not taking a balanced approach. And so we say when it comes to the sequester, we should avoid all the terrible things that our colleagues have said and which we agree with. Let's take a balanced approach to doing it. And you know what? The President submitted a plan to do just that more than a year ago. It's not that he doesn't have a plan. It's our Republican colleagues don't like the plan. Why? Because he says we don't need to provide these big taxpayer giveaways to the big oil companies anymore. We don't need to cut dramatically into things like Medicaid and Medicare when we should be asking seniors to pay a little bit more. Just let's ask them to pay what they were when President Clinton was president. That's the last time we balanced our budget. So the question is how we do it. The President submitted a proposal. As I said earlier, I took a proposal yesterday, the Rules Committee, that would have done this in a balanced approach. Our colleagues say they want an open democratic process. We haven't had a vote on that. Instead, we're going to have a vote on something that actually, even if it passes the House and the Senate and signed by the President, doesn't do anything to eliminate the sequester. Doesn't do a thing. It just says that the President has to come up with a plan, but they tell him what it has to do. They say it cannot be balanced. It cannot include any revenue. It has to be across the board in cuts. Now let's talk a minute about taxes. The President has called upon this Congress to immediately enact tax relief to 98% of the American people. Let's do it now, before they expire at the end of this year. And our Republican colleagues say, no, no, nobody gets tax relief unless very wealthy people get a bonus tax break, because everybody on the President's proposal gets tax relief on the first $250,000 of their income. Our Republican colleagues say, no, unless people like Mitt Romney get an extra tax break, nobody gets tax relief. And you know what? The President's proposal provides tax relief to 97% of all pass-through businesses. Republican colleagues say, no, unless you're going to give businesses like Bain Capital a bonus tax break, we can't ask them to contribute one more penny to reducing the deficit. Let's talk about jobs. It was really interesting to hear our Republican colleagues talk today about the fact that if you allow these budget cuts to take place, it will have devastating impact on jobs in this country. You know what? A year ago this month, the President submitted a proposal to this Congress, a jobs initiative. It called for investing more in our infrastructure, in our roads, in our bridges, to help put more Americans back to work. We have 14% unemployment in the construction industry. So here are Republican colleagues saying, well, we can't allow any of these cuts to take place because people who are building tanks will lose their jobs, and we agree spending that money on defense has consequences. But how is it that spending money on roads and bridges and infrastructure doesn't also put people back to work? That's what the President proposed a year ago. Not a single vote on the President's jobs bill, 37 votes to repeal Obamacare, but not one vote on the President's jobs bill. So, Madam Speaker, whether it's acting on the jobs bill, which has been sitting here for more than a year, or acting on the President's proposal to immediately extend tax relief to 97% of the American people, or whether it's taking a responsible, balanced approach to replacing the sequester, let's do what bipartisan groups have recommended and take that balanced way to build our economy and reduce our deficit. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
For what purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey seek recognition?
In opposition to the motion.
Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So the seminal question that I think those who are watching the deliberations here on the floor tonight is asking themselves are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And when you look at the economy, you have to answer that question with a resounding no. With poverty continuously up year after year after year at the highest levels in this country since we've seen back since 1995. When 1 out of 7 people in this country now find themselves, unfortunately, on food stamps. 47 million of our friends and neighbors find them in that situation. 1 out of 6 Americans will be on Medicaid. Are you better off today than you were in the past? Absolutely not. And that's why it's astonishing when as I stand here to listen to the other side of the aisle and the proposals that they presented so far and that they have over the years. You know, for the last hour of the debate, the gentleman from Maryland has been saying two basic things, but one primary thing is that he went to Rules last night, that he had a plan, he pulled out his plan, and he said, this is what the solution is. This is how we solve the problem. But gosh, you know, the problem was that mean old Rules Committee just wouldn't allow him to have it come down to the floor tonight. Well, my friend and colleague from South Carolina made the recommendation to him. Take that proposal. If that is truly the answer that in your heart is the right answer, that is truly the way to go, and lay it out. If you really do believe that the solution to the problems is by raising taxes raising taxes by the tune of $85 billion and cutting spending to the extent that there's only a net reduction of $5 billion, if you truly do believe, as he said for the last hour, that the way to resolve the issue of sequester is by raising taxes by $3 for every $1 in cuts. If he truly believed for the last hour, as he has said, that that is the solution to the problem, then he could have come here and presented an MTR, an alternative, in this format. But he has not done so. Would the gentleman yield? Because that's just not true. We were asked the parliamentarian, they said we couldn't bring it in that format because of the rules. Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time. What we have here before us is a lack of direction, a lack of leadership that the American is so fervently looking for out of Washington. Madam Speaker? The President is, the American public is looking, the American public is...
Seek recognition.
I would ask unanimous consent to bring up the substitute amendment so we can vote on it. The gentleman wants to vote on it.
Reclaiming my time. The American public is looking for leadership from Washington. They're not seeing it from the President, who has failed to present a budget that would get any single votes in either the House or the Senate, 97-0, 414-0. They are looking for the Senate to demonstrate some degree of vision, some degree of leadership by taking any of the bills that we send over to them, whether it's the budget or the sequester legislation, and showing that they can pass that legislation. They are looking for some degree of vision from the other side of the aisle in the House as well on these matters to make sure that we can stand up fiscally and a strong defense, and they're seeing a lack of vision here by the other side of the House as well. We know what writings tell us. A nation without vision leads to a people that will perish. Well, Madam Speaker, I can tell you this, that throughout these last 2 years, this Republican-controlled Congress has shown vision with our strong budget, with our sequestration bill, and now with this bill as well, to present the option to the other side, to the Senate, and to the President to make sure that we can defend this nation strong militarily and fiscally as well. I would encourage all my colleagues to vote no on this motion to recommit. And I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Without objection, the previous question is ordered on the motion to recommit, and the question is on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed will say no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. Madam Speaker, I ask for the yeas and nays. The motion is not agreed to, and the yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having arisen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to Clause 9 of Rule 20, the Chair will reduce to 5 minutes the minimum time for any electronic vote on the question of passage. 15 minutes, right? This will be a 15-minute vote. 15-minute vote.
Series of 5 votes on the House floor. They've been debating a Republican measure that would require the President to offer an alternative to the sequesters across-the-board discretionary spending and mandatory defense spending cuts currently scheduled to take effect in the beginning of January 2013. This is the Democratic motion to recommit. The Democrats say the motion to recommit would eliminate sequestration entirely, provided that subsequent deficit reduction is enacted that equals or exceeds sequestration's deficit reduction over 10 years. The motion would also provide that such subsequent deficit reduction legislation be balanced by requiring upper-income taxpayers pay their fair share, protecting middle-class tax cuts, and including targeted spending cuts. It's a 15-minute vote. A vote on final passage on the sequester bill will be next. They'll also vote in just a bit on the continuing resolution, the temporary spending bill, 6-month spending bill that would fund the government through the end of March in 2013. With the current fiscal year running out, ending on September 30th, we caught up with the Capitol Hill reporter for details on the CR. Carrie Young with Congressional Quarterly. It seems for once Congress isn't scrambling to get a bill done, a spending bill that will keep the government operating beyond the October 1st new fiscal year. How'd they do this?
You know, they really reached an agreement on this a while ago, actually, before they left for the August recess. They wanted to avoid having another near shutdown, really alarming people throughout the country with the idea that they couldn't complete the basic task of keeping the government funded. So if you may recall, back at just before the August break, we saw Speaker Boehner and we saw Leader Reid come out and say that they had reached the broad frame of this agreement.
In your CQ.com article, you called it a truce of sorts. How much money did they agree to spend over the next 6 months?
Well, they agreed to spend. They agreed to set the level for spending as if they were going to spend for the whole year at $1.047 trillion. It's a little bit dicey to actually just say it's 6 months of that because there are a lot of variables that go into it. But that was the level they set in the debt limit agreement of 2011. And that's a level that a lot of House conservatives didn't want to go to. But a lot of them said that they were willing to maybe back the CR, maybe. We'll see how many of them actually vote for it today at that higher level. And it's only a slightly higher level. It's about $8 billion difference in the run rate, as CBO has calculated, about $4 billion actual difference. It's less than 1% anyway you slice it. But they were willing to do that in order to get a 6-month CR, so these final decisions on spending will be made next year when they're hoping to hold the White House.
Seems like in the past when these continuing resolutions come up, they often get bogged down in these policy riders attached to the bill. Will we see that this time?
No, they've really made a strong effort to keep this pretty clean. Harold Rogers, the Appropriations Chairman, obviously had to turn back a lot of requests. There were some things that obviously he would have liked to include. It's not really the policy writers, too. A lot of times programs will need more money, or they'll need a change in the legislative language. The bill is going to fund much of the federal government for 6 months. It's only about 29 pages. So they really did make an effort to keep it clean.
Let's go back to the House conservatives you mentioned a moment ago, particularly the folks supported by the Tea Party. What's the indication of how they'll vote, and is there outside political pressure for them to vote against the bill?
Well, that's just going to keep this an exciting vote today. It's pretty much considered a guarantee that this measure will get past the House. We know that the Democrats will, at least a number of Democrats will support it. It's considered to be a fairly bipartisan bill. Some House conservatives had signaled that they were willing to support a deal of a 6-month CR at this level. But there has been some pressure from outside. You may have seen Club for Growth put out an announcement last night. Representative Landry has come out today with a letter saying that he wants the bill pulled so you can address or try and take out some Libya funding. That seems decidedly unlikely to happen, but they're definitely going to lose some conservative votes on it.
Well, the House taking it up today, and what's the timetable ahead for the Senate? What has Harry Reid said?
In the Senate, he's looking to clear this Reid is looking to clear this fairly quickly. It's going to be a matter of how quickly they can actually get to the vote and whether they'll actually need to kind of run the entire clock on cloture. So the question is, do we go to a vote a week from Saturday if they really need to get the full cloture time, or do they perhaps reach an agreement on a vote earlier? And in the Senate as well, they will definitely lose some conservatives on this vote, but it's pretty much guaranteed that the CR will pass there or be cleared.
Kerry Young with Congressional Quarterly. Read more at CQ.com. Thanks for the update. And the House will vote on that continuing resolution in just a bit. First up, though, the Democratic motion to recommit on the sequester bill. Final passage on the sequester bill is next. Chad Pergram of Fox News is tweeting that the House begins its vote series, and we expect Representative Paul Ryan of Ohio to walk shortly from Boehner's office to the House chamber to vote. He's been meeting with his fellow Republicans up on Capitol Hill. He was on the campaign trail yesterday in Wisconsin. And so the first here of 5 votes on the House floor, with the CR vote coming up in just a bit. Speaker Boehner did not have his briefing today so that members could meet with Paul Ryan. Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic leader, did have her briefing, and she talked about the attacks, condemning the recent attacks on the consulate in Libya. She made her comments about the Democratic agenda as well, and spoke to reporters for just over 20 minutes. We'll show you what we can as this 15-minute vote continues.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yeah. As we gather today, of course, our thoughts and prayers are with the families and loved ones of Ambassador Chris Stevens, Foreign Service Officer Sean Smith, former Navy SEAL Glenn Doherty, and the other American as yet unidentified, not publicly identified, in the attack in Benghazi. All members of Congress stand united in condemning this brazen attack, and we stand united in condemning it in the strongest possible terms. These American diplomats served on the front lines of Libya's quest for democracy, freedom, and stability. Their commitment to peace and security stand in stark contrast to those cowards who perpetrated this act. As our President Obama said yesterday, as Americans, let us never, ever forget that freedom is the only sustained because there are people who are willing to fight for it, to stand up for it, and in some cases lay down their lives for it. 4 courageous Americans lost their lives in the service of our country. We hope it is a comfort to their families and their friends and their colleagues at work that so many people mourn their loss and are praying for them at this sad time. Our attention is rightly on our brave men and women, both in uniform or in the diplomatic or intelligence, who serve us so well abroad. We salute all of them as we acknowledge this loss. But we must continue to focus on challenges here at home. On this very day alone, today is the 18th anniversary of the Violence Against Women Act. House Republicans still refuse to take a vote on the Senate bill, which passed with strong bipartisan support. Today, Senate Republicans are blocking a vote on President Obama's Veterans Jobs Corps to put veterans to work using skills developed in the military. It's really very important. We honor their service by providing jobs for them when they come home, building a future worthy of their sacrifice, and the Republicans are standing in the way of that today on the Senate floor. And today on the floor in the House, the Republicans are bringing forth their sequester bill. The Republican plan does not stop the sequester, is not fair and balanced, demands no new revenues, doesn't ask for 1 red cent from the wealthiest people in America, while asking students, seniors, and the middle class to pay more. Democrats have another idea. Unfortunately, we cannot bring it to the floor because it was blocked in Rules Committee last night. They did not allow us to substitute or to have this in the form of an amendment. Will be part of our debate, though, today. It's based on fairness and balance that actually ends the sequester through a mix of cuts and revenues. But again, the Rules Committee did not allow that to come forward. But you have seen much of it before. It's contained in the House Budget Budget Committee Democrats, under the leadership of Chris Van Hollen, who brought forth our budget earlier. That substance of that is part of our suggestion for the sequester, which would eliminate the need for the sequester. The Republican proposal does not. Every day brings us closer to the fiscal cliff. Speaker Boehner said he's not confident at all that Congress can reach a bipartisan agreement to avoid the fiscal cliff. Well, we simply must. That's a luxury we cannot afford. We simply must. Moody's Investors, in fact, announced that it would likely downgrade U.S. credit rating if budget negotiations fail. You recall that last year our credit rating was downgraded, even though we did come to a conclusion simply because it was in doubt. Democrats are committed to staying in session as long as it takes to ensure certainty for the middle class, that we'll avoid that cliff, that we'll have growth in our economy and the creation of jobs for all Americans. Unfortunately, the do-nothing Congress wants to go home. I think we're here, we're scheduled to just 8 days session in September. There's a question as to whether we'll even be here in October. The ball is in the Republican court. Instead of leaving town for 7 weeks after being gone for 4 or 5 weeks, let's work across the aisle to restore this fiscal responsibility, put people to work, and strengthen the middle class. We absolutely have to do that for the American people. With that, I'd be pleased to take any questions.
Yes, you traveled to Egypt earlier this year. There's been protests at the embassy there in relation to a movie depicting Muhammad and Islam or Muslim religion. Do you feel that Egypt is an ally of the United States?
Egypt is, I believe, the largest Muslim country in the world. It is a force in the Middle East. It is a country with whom we must have a good relationship. It's important, again, for our national security interest, and part of our national security interest involved the security of Israel. But even if Israel did not exist, the fact is that we really do have to help Egypt go forward. And yes, I don't know about the word ally, we'll see, but the fact is that we have an interest in Egypt's success. And let's hope that we can do that as allies. Yeah.
To that end, we've heard from a number of Republicans who were critical of the president here and saying, well, the president should have done this, that, or the other. What tools does the president have in his toolbox to, when a situation like this erupts, what should he be doing? What do you think he could be doing to sort of allay some of this tension?
First, let me just ask you a question. You said there were a number of Republicans who were critical of the president. Are we talking about Mitt Romney? Who are we talking about, and what is their criticism? Because I can't address your question. I don't even know.
Well, there was Mitt Romney. There was Jeff Landry yesterday from Louisiana. There were a few others who...
I don't know who that is.
He's a congressman from the Bayou, Louisiana. That's right.
Significant in all this. So he's a congressman from Louisiana.
Yes, yes. But there were some others as well.
Okay, so Mitt Romney, of the inappropriate statement on this subject, and a congressman from Louisiana have said
they wish the president would do more, they laid some of the blame at his feet.
And they wanted him to do more in what regard?
Well, that's what they weren't specific, and that's what
I understand that, but I can't answer the question about commenting on what they're proposing if they don't even know what they're proposing.
Are there certain things that you think that any president should do in these situations?
Well, I believe that there has been a consensus that we cannot leave Egypt by the by. So if they're suggesting that we should cut off assistance to Egypt, I mean, I have to know what you're talking about. I don't agree with that. I think that the administration and even our friends in the region have said it's really important for all parties, whether it's the private sector as well as the public sector, to invest in Egypt because its economic success is important to the stability of the country, and that's important to the stability of the region and world and global peace. So even our friends in Israel have said that President Perez, to be specific, has said that that we should be supporting publicly and privately, when I say privately, the private sector as well, Egypt's success. Yes, ma'am.
The Federal Reserve announced today that the Federal Reserve announced today that they're going to buy another $23 billion of mortgage bonds and add that to the portfolio and keep interest rates at near record lows through mid-2015. Does that go far enough? Do you have faith that that will do anything to improve the economy and bring unemployment under 8%, or what needs to be done?
Well, it was interesting that they made the decision to go forward and that it was an 11-to-1 vote. It was really quite a strong vote in taking this action. I think it indicates that they see, I think it's clear that they did so because they saw a need to bolster the economy, and of course, this hopefully what they're thinking will become a reality. It already had an impact on the stock market. It's up, what, 80 points already today, and NASDAQ is up as well. So from a confidence standpoint, it has already had an effect. I think the strength of the vote, the reaction so far, would indicate that we're optimistic it will have a positive impact on the economy. It's unfortunate that the Republicans have refused to support many of the initiatives that President Obama has put forth in this past nearly 2 years for job creation, because we could be farther down the road in the economic recovery if we had those investments in jobs. Yes, sir.
Your office this morning released a video welcoming Chairman Ryan back to the Capitol. Earlier this morning, we also heard the DCCC chairman talk about the impact that he believes Ryan's selection has had on all the races down the ticket. I'm wondering what impact you think Ryan's selection has had, and whether you're more optimistic today than before we went on recess about the Democrats' chances of taking back the House majority.
We have been talking for a long time about the fact that Medicare is on the ballot. When the Republicans put forth the Ryan-Romney Republican budget that severed the Medicare guarantee and said to seniors, you're going to pay, while we're at it, $6,000 more to get less from Medicare while we give tax cuts to the wealthiest people in our country. This was a value that is on the ballot, not an issue, and not a name of a candidate. Much more important than any of that or us. So our approach has always been that the three most important issues in the campaign in alphabetical order have been Medicare, Medicare, and Medicare. The fact that the Republicans voted for it around 4 times, every one of them, to sever the Medicare guarantee, to make seniors pay more, giving tax cuts to the wealthy, while making students pay more while giving tax cuts to the wealthy, was just so out of whack in terms of what a budget statement of value should be in our country. So when the presidential campaign took a turn to where we are now, which is to choose a vice presidential candidate, and Governor Romney embraced the repeal of Medicare. That was a sad day for our country and for Medicare, but at least it put the focus on the issue which we have been focusing on since day one, and day one being the day the Republicans voted for the Ryan budget. I guess he was catering to his base. I mean, I'm not here to talk politics, but whatever he thought was a good idea at the time ranks along there with some of his other poor judgment, which we have seen recently.
You're more optimistic, though, that you'll win back the House?
You know, I've always been optimistic, but, yeah, I'm more optimistic. Steve Israel spoke to that today. I just refer you to his comments because it's all about numbers, and the numbers are much more clearly in our place. But we were going to make this fight anyway. We saw this as essential, not as a path to victory, because that's unimportant. What's important was to save Medicare. And Governor Romney is making it easier by saying, by embracing the repeal of Medicare. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Madam Leader, with the collapse of last year's debt talks and the supercommittee failure, Speaker Boehner said yesterday that he was not confident at all that an agreement would be reached. Do you share that sentiment?
No, here's what I believe we have to do. We have to acknowledge the job that needs to be done. We must have an agreement. And then we engineer back from there. How do we get this done? But we do not contribute to the uncertainty in our economy, contributing to the lack of confidence in our economy, saying to the rating agencies, I don't think this can happen, because that's not a good thing for our economy. I think it was a really unfortunate statement, and I think that Senator Reid said it right. We have to get the job done. This is so immature, so irresponsible, so unworthy of the trust that the American people place on us that we can at least get a budget arrangement. It's happened over and over. You saw in terms of President Reagan and Speaker O'Neill when it came to Social Security. You saw it with President George Herbert Walker Bush at Andrews Air Force Base coming together. There has to be a coming together to get this done. And it's, I would, you know, obviously the more bipartisan it is, the stronger it is. But I just think it's very frivolous to even suggest that it isn't possible.
Mrs. Pelosi,
yes,
there's a lot of worry amongst members from farm states, rural states, on both sides of the aisle for the lack of a farm bill. What's your thought about that, and have you heard of anything moving forward possibly? Now there seems to be bipartisan support to get it done, or at least bipartisan concern.
Well, it's very interesting because when the bill was being negotiated in the committee, it came out of the committee with bipartisan support. There were some areas of disagreement in terms of nutrition and the rest of that, but the bill came out of the committee with bipartisan support, with the idea then it would go to conference with the Senate, which had already passed its bill, and that we would have a farm bill. And it was only after that that there seemed to be a silence of, well, it wasn't on the agenda for the week we thought it was. And then it wasn't on the agenda for the next week. And then it became clear that there was a major kicking of the farm bill down the road going on here. So this is really unfortunate. I harken back 5 years to when we put the farm bill together. It's hard. It's a very difficult, it's a complicated bill, and that the committee can come out with bipartisan support to bring something to the floor, to move the process forward, to take it to conference and work out some of the differences within the bill is what we come here to do. So you would just have to ask them. Now, one of the members from the Republican side said, it's my fault it's not coming up. What could he be thinking? Does he think I'm still Speaker? Does he think that the Democrats have 218 votes to pass the bill? The Republican leadership has blocked this bill from coming. They have well over the votes that are needed for the bill. There will be Democratic votes for it as well, but they can't vote unless it comes to the floor. And now they're trying to make any excuse. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. Well, sometimes you have to wonder, does it make sense what they're saying, that the Democrats are holding it up? But not to even repeat their silly charge, yeah, you'd have to ask the Speaker, why are they not bringing up the bill?
On this vote, the yeas are 170 and the nays are 247. The motion is not adopted. The question is on passage of the bill, and those in favor will signify by saying aye. Opposed will say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The gentleman from Maryland. Recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. Sufficient number having arisen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote. A 5-minute vote.
This is the final passage on the Republican measure, the sequester bill, which would require the President to offer an alternative to the sequesters across-the-board discretionary spending and mandatory defense spending cuts that are scheduled to take effect in January 2013. It's a 5-minute vote. You may have seen in that motion to recommit vote some applause. That's because Paul Ryan has returned for votes. Our Capitol Hill producer Annie Ten tweeting that Paul Ryan enters the House chambers to cheers, applause by colleagues, making his way down the center aisle. John Stanton from Roll Call also tweeted that others applauded, including Chris Van Hollen and Charlie Rangel. Paul Ryan had been on the campaign trail a bit, in fact, in his home state of Wisconsin yesterday, an event we covered, and back off the campaign trail today. Both the presidential candidates were out campaigning today. President Obama in Golden, Colorado, Mitt Romney in Fairfax, Virginia, and this evening in Ronkonkoma, New York. We have the Fairfax event. We have the President's Colorado event. You can find those in our video library at cspan.org.
On this vote, the yeas are 223 and the nays are 196. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to Clause 1C of Rule 19, further consideration on House Joint Resolution 117 will now resume. The clerk will report the title.
House Joint Resolution 117, joint resolution making continuing appropriations for fiscal year 2013 and for other purposes.
Madam Speaker,
For what purpose does the gentleman from Arizona seek recognition?
I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
The House will be in order. The House will come to order. Is the gentleman from Arizona opposed to the joint resolution?
Madam Speaker, I have a motion to recommit at the desk, and I'm opposed to this bill in its current form.
Gentleman qualifies. The clerk will report the motion.
Mr. Barber of Arizona moves to recommit the joint resolution, House Joint Resolution 117, to the Committee on Appropriations with instructions to report the same back to the House forthwith with the following amendment. At the end of the joint resolution, before the short title, insert the following. Section 156A, full year funding for military personnel accounts, notwithstanding Section 106, appropriations and funds made available and authority granted pursuant to this joint resolution,
Clerk
including...
will suspend. Gentleman is correct. The House is not in order. The House will be in order. Clerk will read.
Including Section 101C, for the following accounts of the Department of Defense shall remain available until September 30th, 2013. 1. Military personnel, Army. 2. Military personnel, Navy. 3. Military personnel, Marine Corps.
Madam Speaker.
4. Military personnel, Air Force.
I ask unanimous consent the reading be dispensed with.
The objection, it's ordered. Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Arizona is recognized for 5 minutes in support of his motion, but before he begins, the House will come to order. The House will be in order. Gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm offering this amendment to improve this legislation and truly show this Chamber's support for our veterans and men and women in uniform by preventing their pay and services from being impacted by a potential government shutdown next year. The underlying bill we're voting on today lacks key provisions that are needed to protect our veterans and active duty military. My amendment will add these provisions. My amendment will ensure that our patriotic military men and women are not victims of partisan gridlock. My amendment ensures that basic military pay will not be interrupted in a potential shutdown. My amendment guarantees that our armed forces will be paid for the entire year, not just the 6-month duration authorized by this continuing resolution. Unfortunately, Congress has failed to do its job, and we cannot allow a government shutdown to impact the basic pay of our men and women in uniform. This is a guarantee and an assurance that they have a right to expect we will uphold no matter what. My amendment also addresses the fact that 3 critical Veterans Administration authorizations are set to expire at the end of the year. The first is for Contract Medical Disability Authority. Without this extension, which my amendment provides, the VA would not be able to pay for contract medical exams from discretionary funds. This could significantly delay veterans' receipt of benefits. The second authorization which my amendment extends would give the VA the authority to establish its sites to treat homeless, veterans, and those with mental illness. Without this extension, the VA would not be able to provide these essential services at these sites. And the third VA authorization set to expire helps the VA provide housing and treatment to homeless veterans with a serious mental illness. Again, without this extension, the VA would no longer be able to provide for therapeutic transitional housing assistance to veterans who are homeless or who have a serious mental illness. Our veterans stepped forward when we asked them to serve this great nation. In return, it is our undeniable responsibility to help them find employment when they are able to work and to care for them when they are not. Tonight, there are about 70,000 homeless veterans who will sleep on the streets of our country. This is a situation that is absolutely deplorable, and we must act to provide them with the assistance they deserve. None of what I proposed here should be a partisan issue. This is about keeping our sacred promise to those who have defended our freedoms. There are nearly 100,000 veterans in my Southern Arizona district and 2 military installations. Davis Mountain Air Force Base in Tucson, where I grew up, where my father was deployed, and Fort Huachuca and Sierra Vista, and the 162nd Fighter Wing of the Air National Guard just across the district line. And I am offering this amendment, thinking of the men and women who are stationed there and across this nation and across the world. During our recent work period, I went to the airport in Tucson to honor the men and women of our Army National Guard as they left for deployment in Afghanistan. I told them and their families, on behalf of all of us, how grateful we are for their service. And today I ask you to join with me in putting action behind those words. This is not a partisan issue. We can and must find common ground in this chamber on this very issue. This morning, my colleague, Congressman Platts, and I introduced a bipartisan bill, the Veterans Health Care Access Act. Our bill will make it easier for veterans to get access to the health care they need. What other issue we face is more important than this, to both sides of the aisle, than supporting our armed forces and our veterans. At a time when we need to get services to our veterans who are newly returning home from Iraq and Afghanistan, we cannot be creating uncertainty and allowing a lapse of service or pay. This is about the Army sergeant I met on the flight going home, who is now diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury, and who will soon be medically discharged. He deserves to know that we will stand up for him and others like him. Let me say again, the passage of this amendment will not prevent the passage of the underlying bill. And I urge my Republican and Democratic colleagues alike to vote yes on this final amendment and support our military and support our veterans. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back his time. For what purpose does the gentleman from Kentucky seek recognition?
In opposition.
From Indiana, state his parliamentary inquiry.
As I understand it, Madam Speaker, there's foreign aid money in this bill, and I want to know if any of it is going to Libya or Egypt. Our embassies have been attacked, the ambassador's been killed, the Muslim Brotherhood runs Egypt, and we're going to give them money? I would like to have an answer.
The chair cannot respond to that inquiry. Gentleman, the chair cannot respond to that inquiry. The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I rise in strong opposition to the motion to recommit. This procedural motion is nothing more than a dilatory tactic designed to score political points for the cameras. Now, if we worked fervently, in good faith, to put together a CR that meets the nation's critical needs for the next 6 months, we did take care of our veterans in this bill. We did take care of our troops. With the enactment of this CR, funding for veterans will be $2.1 billion more than last year. The CR provides all the funds necessary for our troops' pay raise. The only problem, Madam Speaker, in order for the checks to go out, the Senate has to pass an authorization bill, which they've been sitting on for months. It's time for the Senate to act on behalf of our troops and our veterans. Now, we've got to pass this CR to keep the government open and keep the doors from closing on their government. And yet, the Democrats want to put a roadblock to passing this one piece of legislation that keeps the government running. The last time I checked, Madam Speaker, if you close down the government, the nation's most deserving, our troops and veterans, will not get a single dollar of the benefits that they deserve. So this bill is necessary. And with the November elections on the horizon, we should not be surprised that the other side wants to put politics ahead of doing our work as usual. The American people expect us to stop the partisan bickering and get our work done. The time for idle talk is over. Enough is enough. We've got bipartisan agreement on this bill. The House, the Senate, both parties, and the White House have signed off on this bill. The motion is not needed, it's not helpful, and the money is in the bill. Stop the political posturing and make our citizens proud. Vote no.
Without objection, the previous question is ordered on the motion to recommit. The question is on the motion to recommit. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chairs, the noes have it. The noes have it.
Madam
Gentleman
Speaker,
from
I ask for a
Arizona.
recorded vote.
Recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number having arisen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to Clause 8 and Clause 9 of Rule 20, this 15-minute vote on the motion to recommit House Joint Resolution 117 will be followed by 5-minute votes on passing House Joint Resolution 117, if ordered, and suspending the rules and passing S. 3245. Again, this is a 15-minute vote.
The 2012 fiscal year ends at the end of September. Fiscal year 2013 beginning October 1st. This debate this afternoon has been about the continuing resolution, the short-term 6-month spending bill that would fund the government through the end of March 2013. Final passage is next. This is the Democratic motion to recommit, a last chance to change the bill before final passage. You may have seen Indiana Republican Dan Burton there asking the chair about whether any money was in the continuing resolution for funding Libya and Egypt. The chair could not answer that question. But next up, we're going to show you the Libyan ambassador who was speaking at the Atlantic Council today. Ali Suleiman Alaji gave an 8-minute statement at the end of the Atlantic Council events. But first up, though, we're going to show you a conversation we had about the continuing resolution with the Capitol Hill reporter. With Congressional Quarterly, it seems for once Congress isn't scrambling to get a spending bill that'll keep the government operating beyond the October 1st new fiscal year. How'd they do this?
You know, they really reached an agreement on this a while ago, actually, before they left for the August recess. They wanted to avoid having another near shutdown, really alarming people throughout the country with the idea that they couldn't complete the basic task of keeping the government funded. So if you may recall, back at just before the August break, we saw Speaker Boehner and we saw Leader Reid come out and said that they had reached the broad frame of this agreement.
In your CQ.com article, you called it a truce of sorts. How much money did they agree to spend over the next 6 months?
Well, they agreed to spend. They agreed to set the level for spending as if they were going to spend for the whole year at $1.047 trillion. It's a little bit dicey to actually just say it's 6 months of that because there are a lot of variables that go into it. But that was the level they set in the debt limit agreement of 2011. And that's a level that a lot of House conservatives didn't want to go to. But a lot of them said that they were willing to maybe back the CR, maybe. We'll see how many of them actually vote for it today at that higher level. And it's only a slightly higher level. It's about $8 billion difference in the run rate, as CBO has calculated, about $4 billion actual difference. It's less than 1% any way you slice it. But they were willing to do that in order to get a 6-month CR, so these final decisions on spending will be made next year when they're hoping to hold the White House.
Seems like in the past when these continuing resolutions come up, they often get bogged down in these policy riders attached to the bill. Will we see that this time?
No, they've really made a strong effort to keep this pretty clean. Hal Rogers, the Appropriations Chairman, obviously had to turn back a lot of requests. There were some things that obviously he would have liked to include. It's not really the policy riders, too. A lot of times programs will need more money, or they'll need a change in the legislative language. The bill is going to fund much of the federal government for 6 months. It's only about 29 pages. So they really did make an effort to keep it clean.
Let's go back to the House conservatives you mentioned a moment ago, particularly the folks supported by the Tea Party. What's the indication of how they'll vote, and is there outside political pressure for them to vote against the bill?
Well, that's just going to keep this an exciting vote today. It's pretty much considered a guarantee that this measure will get past the House. We know that the Democrats will, at least a number of Democrats will support it. It's considered to be a fairly bipartisan bill. Some House conservatives had signaled that they were willing to support a deal of a 6-month CR at this level. But there has been some pressure from outside. You may have seen Club for Growth put out an announcement last night. Representative Landry has come out today with a letter saying that he wants the bill pulled so you can address or try and take out some Libya funding. That seems decidedly unlikely to happen, but they're definitely going to lose some conservative votes on this.
Well, the House taking it up today, and what's the timetable ahead for the Senate? What has Harry Reid said?
In the Senate, he's looking to clear this. Harry Reid is looking to clear this fairly quickly. It's going to be a matter of how quickly they can actually get to the vote, whether they'll actually need to kind of run the entire clock on cloture. So the question is, do we go to a vote a week from Saturday if they really need to get the full closure time, or do they perhaps reach an agreement on a vote earlier? And in the Senate as well, they will definitely lose some conservatives on this vote, but it's pretty much guaranteed that the CR will pass there, will be cleared.
Carrie Young with Congressional Quarterly. Read more at CQ.com. Thanks for the update. And a final passage vote on the continuing resolution is next. This is the vote on the Democratic motion to recommit. The Associated Press is reporting that a witness and a senior Libyan security official say the killing of 4 Americans on Tuesday night at the American consulate in Benghazi was carried out by heavily armed militants. The official says the militants also raided a safe house in the compound just as U.S. and Libyan security arrived to evacuate the staff. In Washington today, the Libyan ambassador to the U.S., Ali Suleiman Alahi, gave an 8-minute statement at the end of his Atlantic Council event where he praised Ambassador Chris Stevens, calling him a close personal friend. He also talked about the government's shortcomings in the area of security. He also says it's too early to say who planned the attack, naming jihadist groups and Gaddafi sympathizers as possible culprits. Here are his comments from earlier today.
I have just a few comments I want to make. First, concerning the death of Ambassador Stevens and 3 American officials at the consulate of Libya, American in Benghazi. I want to extend our condolence and apology for what happened. It is a very sad incident. It is a terrorist attack. It is happened in the city which I born in and I study in and I lived in. I feel ashamed, of course, of that. What's make it very difficult for me, I know Chris personally for the last 6 years. We are very good friends. He comes to the house. We go to play tennis together. And I remember when he came back from Libya, I think maybe March last year, and we were going to play a game of tennis, and then I told him, Chris, you will be the next ambassador to Libya. He smiled and he said, oh, I don't know, maybe. I said, well, you are the man, you are the right man in the right place in the right time. He loves Libya. He really lived the revolution days and nights, and he's the Libyan hero. He's the Libyan champion. It is a great loss. Unfortunate how this incident happened. Why we as a Libyan failed to protect the foreign diplomat and the foreign missions, which we are obliged to protect them according to the Vienna Convention. Unfortunately, I believe that there is one main reason behind that. that we have no personnel, we have no organization, we have no decision maker to take care of the security and the stability in Libya. Without police, without intelligence, without armed forces, we will not be to do anything. And this is my message and my concern when Dr. Abdurrahim, the Prime Minister, and when Dr. Bushagur, also the Deputy Prime Minister, they came here. I told them this is my concern. If we have no means and ways to protect our people and to protect our guests, I think we will not be able to establish a democratic country we are dreaming with. Then it is a sad incident, and for me personally, as I said, because he's a very personal friend. But what after this? How we are going to handle this issue? Of course, the Libyan officials, they made a very strong statement condemning this criminal attack. But I think this is a very good step in the right direction, but it is not enough. We have to do everything possible to arrest these people and present them to justice. But this is also depends how the Americans are going to react. It is a very dangerous time now. It is a very delicate time. We have to be very wise and see how we are going to handle this issue. We want to cooperate more than confrontation. I think the Americans, they have to realize that the situation is very fragile in Libya. It is burning in the many Muslim and Arab countries, unfortunately, after this stupid movie, which the people who are behind it, I consider them terrorists, because they are responsible for the death of the innocent people, innocent Americans. And they are, with this attack against the Muslims and the Muslim religion, I think they paved the way for more unfortunate terrorist action against the American interests. But if this is the right response for this stupid movie, I would say no. There are more civilized ways to express your view. But unfortunately, in Libya, for example, who is behind it? Is it the extremist? Is it the Al-Qaeda? Is it the Gaddafi association? Is it all these three together? It is maybe early to say who is really behind this terrorist act. Of course, Gaddafi's associated. They're still moving in Libya. They have money. They move freely in the neighboring countries, and they have the ways and means. There was some cars exploding in Tripoli, and we find out that was responsible on this action. We find out they have strong communication with the associates who are living overseas. Then my hope, and after my visits to and discussion with the American officials here, America have to be committed to this revolution. We have to work together, and they support us during the war, and I think we need more support during the peace. But how can Libya control and let the world know that we are serious about our democracy, about the future of our country? I think the ministers and the cabinet, they have a real problems. This is a problem that Gaddafi left behind him just destructions. We need to establish a very good police forces. We need a very good communication. We need training. They send about maybe 10,000 to Turkey, 10,000 personnel, maybe 7,000 to Jordan, but also you need time too. This is a very, very, very difficult time and very difficult period. And I never expect that we will come to this end while the government really cannot do much to protect our interests, to protect our people, to protect our friends, to protect the diplomatic mission. Also, I think this period is really needs someone who can decide, someone who can take a decision and take the responsibility in the same time. I think maybe at one time that was very difficult. I cannot blame the government very much because they don't have the ways and means, but I can blame them that after now the liberation of Libya, I think few months, then we should be able to create a force that will help us to secure our country and our people. Tourists is the main issue. Reconciliation is another issue. But without government showing, this is the Middle East, this is North Africa, it is maybe different from other places. The government, they have to show their teeth from time. Otherwise, the people, they will have no respect. The people, they will not obey the law and the orders. Then, again, my apology to the American people. It is a sad day in our history. And we hope that we will still have the support of the United States and other alliance and other friends to help Libya to get through from this terrible critical situation. Thank you.
And an update, the Associated Press is reporting this evening that the Libyan-based militant group Ansar al-Sharia is the leading suspect for carrying out the violence, possibly with help from al-Qaeda's main African-based offshoot. Also, NBC News is reporting the fourth victim has been identified in the killings. A former Navy SEAL, his name is Glenn Dougherty, 42, a native of Winchester, Massachusetts. He was working as a security specialist for the U.S. government when militants attacked. On the House floor, this is the motion to recommit vote on the continuing resolution, the bill that's going to keep the government funded beginning October 1st, the start of the new 2013 fiscal year. It'll keep it funded for 6 months through the end of March 2013. Just a bit ago, they passed a measure, a Republican measure, that would require the president to offer an alternative to the sequesters across-the-board cuts. This, as Congressional Reporterly reporting this afternoon, based on comments from Jay Carney, the White House is expecting to release a report tomorrow detailing the automatic spending cuts under the sequester. They say a week later than the deadline set by Congress. CQ writes that the report will provide an estimate from the Office of Management and Budget on how much would be cut from each federal account at the program, project, and activity levels if the scheduled $109 billion in automatic across-the-board cuts are implemented. You may remember the sequester was set to occur under the August debt limit law from 2011. And since a special congressional committee did not come up with a plan to shave that $1.2 trillion from the deficit, those automatic cuts scheduled to go into effect in January 2013.
The ayes are 189, and the nays are 232. The motion is not adopted. The question is on passage of the joint resolution. Those in favor will signify by saying aye. Opposed will say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes. For what purpose does the gentleman from Washington seek recognition?
On that, I request a recorded vote.
Recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number having arisen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be